A poem is a story that is being told via rhythm and rhyme, and that has specific stanzas that are trying to articulate a specific message. In this case, in your case, you are supposed to understand what this poem is communicating, what this poem is actually about, and how you are going to analyze this poem, what evidence is being provided, and how you're actually going to analyze this poem to the best of your ability. So, looking at a poem, if you want to look at, you are consistently looking at the writer's or the poet's intention. Why did the writer or the poet use rhetorical questions? Why did they use specific personification or specific language devices? What effect is this having on the reader? What effect is this having on the reader? What effect consistently, that's all I can keep saying, is what is it having on the reader? And why am I saying this? Because when you break down a poem and you analyze a poem, you are going to say, a rhetorical question is being used, and you're going to say the reason why it's being used, and then you're going to then go on to say what it's suggesting to the reader. What does this suggest to the reader? What does this suggest to the reader? And I always say to my students, the reader is you. You are not detached from the reader. You are the reader. You are saying to yourself, what is this saying to me? So one of the first things you should think about when analyzing any poem, think about the language that is being used. Secondly, you should think about the rhyme and the rhythm and how this contributes to the message behind the poem. You should then go on to think about the writer's choice in words, key phrases, specific keywords and phrases that are being used consistently, and again, what message are these conveying. You should then go on to think about the structure. How many stanzas are there in this poem? How many stanzas are there in this poem? And how many stanzas are there? And then how does that match the message? How does that represent the message? Why is that given a focal point towards the message? Why? Always be asking yourself why. This poem has 3 stanzas, but what does that mean? Why is that effective? Why does that focus on the message? How does that reiterate the message or echo the message or outline the message? How is it doing all of these things? That's the questions you are going to be asking yourself, and you are going to be asking others as well when you are presenting specific poems. Why do you think the writer chose rhetorical question? Why did he choose 3 stanzas? Is it that the 3 stanzas, is it that the poem is about a turbulent relationship? In stanza 1 they're together, stanza 2 they're together, by stanza 3 they are splitting up? And is it a sign of that this is the inconsistency in the relationship? This shows how infrequent they are as well, suggesting that that's why it's an odd number, that's why it's on 3 and not an even number, because there's no continuity throughout it. These are all questions that you are going to ask yourself when you are looking at poetry. Another thing when you're looking at poetry is you're thinking of the context. What made the reader read this poem? Number 1, what made the writer write this poem? What was happening at the time? What was the things happening at the time within society that influenced the writer to write this? Why is the writer speaking about religious atrocities, or why is the writer speaking about specific relationships or suppression? Is it because during that time there's a lot of racism going on, there's inequality, there's injustice? Is that the reason why all of these things are happening? Is that all the reason why the writer has now combined everything and is speaking about it within this poem? That's a question you have to ask yourself. GCSE students know it as AO3. So why is it important to have AO3 being spoken about? That's something you have to consistently ask yourself. So what I would say for homework, I would say that you go away and you find 2 poems, and then when you come back, I want you to annotate these poems and highlight these poems and actually write down the imagery behind this poem, the choice of words, the reason behind the structure, and the context behind the poem as well. Thank you very much.